So we've got a lovely section of meadow here, just about finished flowering. We're getting towards the end of September. So now I'm going to show you how to cut this back and the management that we need to make sure we keep these flowers going from year to year. Autumn cut is the most important cut of the year. There's many different ways of doing it, but particularly in small patch areas where you've got trees, which we quite often plant around the base, and we do wildflower into dappled shade as well. I'm just going to show you very simple tools and an easy way of cutting. In your garden at home, we really want to get this cut down now so it's got time to form new forbs or new growth. This small area here, we've got hawkbit or harebit, we've got sorrel, we've got cuckoo flower, which is another one that looks a lot like a weed, but this will have a whitey purple flower in the spring, does really well in wet boggy ground, and it's another one that we've established throughout the field. And the exciting thing is these are lots of wild carrot seedlings, which hopefully then will develop over the winter and flower next year, and sorrel. But to keep the fertility low, we must cut the meadow in the autumn. So we need to be getting on, and we need to be getting some of this area cut back now, and we want to take off all that vegetation so the vegetation doesn't rot down and improve the fertility, which would then encourage grasses. In small areas, particularly when you're working around trees, one of the very simplest areas, if you've got a small patch of wildflower in your garden, is to use a pair of head shears. Very simple way is just to come in and cut back. The aim is to cut ideally to around sort of 40 to 60 millimeters, so about 1.5 inches to 2 inches in height. And what we're doing is we're taking down all that top growth, and then if it is a very small area, you could actually just pull through. But what we'll do, I just wanted to show you how quick and easy it can be. Dry day makes it a lot more simple, but a meadow rake makes this a lot easier. And we're just going to pull through and just pull off and clear that little area that we've cut there. So the temptation while you've got flowers is to always leave it that bit longer, but basically what we want to do is we want to pull it back so that it opens up. And you can see I've pulled out various bits of grass with the rake as I've been going. So we've got soil patches there. So the seed that will have fallen then over the summer into that area will progress, and that hopefully will germinate over the winter and then produce this new sward that we're aiming for next spring. Got a little bit more space, and obviously it's not for everybody being down on your knees. This is a half-size scythe, so ideally two-handed. Again, you need to be very careful because these are sharp tools, and it's quite a traditional old tool. As I say, there is nothing wrong with using the head shears that I started with, or even a hedge cutter these days if you wanted to make it really simple. The most important thing is raking off to take all the cuttings or arisings away afterwards, which keeps the fertility low. But quite often, particularly with us, we'll use hand tools where we can, particularly around trees. But it just means that we can go through very quickly and clear an area. And then again, the most important thing is raking off your cuttings. And it's an added bonus if you end up with your rake pulling out a bit of the grass as well and exposing a bit more soil, because that's going to be an ideal seed bed for wildflowers for next year. So a lot of that dead grass that I'm pulling out with the rake will open up nice areas which would be ideal for the wildflower to seed into for next year. Never looks pretty over the winter, but then later on in the autumn, planting bulbs through it will mean that you can create and have flowers such as snowdrops, crocus and dwarf daffodils and species tulips that can be in flower from January, February through till March, April, when the flowers of the wildflower will start again and then progress through the summer. The other thing just to say with a meadow rake is you're not directly pulling this across the ground, you're hovering it about ½ an inch off the ground. So actually it's really nice light tool to use. This particular one, which is the one we use for small areas, has got an aluminium head. The larger one we use for the bigger meadows is probably double the size with a wooden head, old traditional hay rake. But this is really nice and light, so very, very lightweight. And again, you can just see from that little area behind us that we've just done, what we've just managed to clear. Secateurs for tree suckers, and then your cutting tools, head shears, hand sickle, half sickle, most important, meadow rake. Hand shears are probably the simplest and probably the safest, particularly if you're not experienced with using the sickles. You can have a go by all means, but please be very, very careful. Head shears are a lot safer and easier to use if you're happy to get down on the ground and get in with the bit. Well, there's a bird there, robins have already come straight back into where we've just cleared. If you're doing this job yourself in your garden, the other thing to say is, ideally you try and time it. If it's possible to cut it on a dry day, it is so much easier, and your cuttings, when you're removing them, are going to be so much lighter. If you have to do it in the wet, it's not going to be any problem for the meadow, but it is just a little bit harder work to actually carry the job out. The other thing to say is, if we're cutting a big meadow, we will do ours in sections so that if there's any invertebrates, any wildlife that are in this area, they've got a chance then to move from where I've just cut into other areas or into the hedgerow behind, rather than cutting the entire thing in one go. Thank you very much for watching. If you need any more tips or advice, feel free to visit us at Andyn Farm. Okay, well, today we're going to try and start to show, because we are...
Just start again if you need to. It's fine, you can do it because I cut all that bit out.
Okay. Today, because we're about to start cutting wet meadow...
That's annoying, isn't it? I'll do a scroll. I'll creep up. Creeping up on